Hey, functional friends, welcome back to the Holistic Savage podcast. I am very, very excited to have the opportunity to really sit down and have a sort of bit of a monologue, a welcome back. Let me tell you a little bit about what's been going on. I haven't released a new episode of the Holistic Savage podcast since summer of 2021. And here we are. It's currently, I'm sort of dating the episode, but it's May of 2024. I'm sitting in my beautiful office here and recording a little bit of a hey, what's up? Welcome back. So let's talk. Some of you might be brand new to the Holistic Savage podcast, in which case, welcome. Thanks for joining the functional family and this little crew here. If you're returning listener to the Holistic Savage podcast, thank you so much for coming back, for tuning back in. I know it's been a while. So, with the podcast, this has been a long time coming to bring it back, and I'll probably go into that a little bit. But I thought because it has been so long, I took almost 3 years off of podcasting. So I wanted to give myself the opportunity to be heard and hopefully understood. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I want to give myself the opportunity to talk a little bit about, the story of the Holistic Savage podcast, to bring us up to date on why am I doing this? What am I even trying to accomplish here? As if there's not enough, content on the internet, as if there's not enough podcasts out there already. What could little old me have to contribute to the vastness of the internet that's worthwhile, right? And we'll see. So I want to start off by saying I'm genuinely grateful for every single one of you that chooses to take time out of your busy life from these algorithms that are trying to completely absorb all of our time and attention and energy. The fact that you would take time out of your life to tune in to this show, right? Because this show is ultimately a reflection of me and my journey, my earth walk, through life as I'm growing, I'm evolving. And the show has grown and evolved a lot with me. And for those of you that are returning listeners, I hope that you can maybe see the evolution in me, right? Certainly even just since the last episode that I released 3 years ago, which for the record was a bomb ass episode with my good friend Karan Krishnan. What a fucking legend, that guy. Which, hey, let me pause real quick. So something that is important to me with this podcast, a lot of it has to do with my desire to communicate my truths and my messages and my content, to explore truth with many other guests and experts and all these things. But I also, my God, social media makes me want to slam my head into a wall and just bust it wide open. I have a lot of thoughts about social media. Don't need to go on one of my notorious tangents and rants right now. But Instagram in particular, which is the main platform that I've been operating on for a number of years now. Yes, I'm on Facebook. Yes, I'm technically on Twitter and TikTok and LinkedIn and YouTube. I'm on all the things, but Instagram is really where I've poured myself into it and poured so much into building the platform that I have on there. And certainly the podcast, it's connected to, but it's its own thing. The podcast is its own production. And just Instagram is such a, at times, frustrating platform, and it's such a limited channel to communicate effectively, right? You only have so many characters you can fit into a caption, or so many pictures, or so many, minutes that you can post as a reel. It's such a limited mechanism to communicate with the world, whereas a podcast, right? Something free form and flowing. I want to give myself the opportunity to be heard in that way. I want to have conversations of substance with quality guests and experts, conversations that matter, conversations that explore meaningful topics, right? Now, for those of you new, it'll be new. For those of you returning, you've probably heard me say it a million times. At least in the past, on sort of the previous Holistic Savage podcast, I would always say how the pillars of the show, the core subjects of the show, functional medicine, functional psychology, functional spirituality, functional fitness, and then it's like, well, shit, functional nutrition, functional philosophy, functional whatever the hell. Let's make everything more functional. You know what I mean? So I'll be continuing that theme in a lot of ways, candidly, transparently, authentically. At the time of this recording, I've already recorded, I think, like 8 or 9 new episodes with amazing guests. I think all the conversations were super rad, and I look forward to releasing all those episodes to you after this one. This is me kind of, let's kick us off. Let's kick us off on the right foot. Let's reestablish the relationship as host and audience, right? And it's a trippy thing, man. It's really a trippy thing, this sort of way of trying to communicate, because as of right now, I'm sitting alone in my wonderful office in my little piece of paradise on this divine planet. And yet I'm trying to communicate and articulate a message to a future audience that I don't know the composition of. I don't know how many people are going to listen to this bullshit, And then it's like, I can even predict, oh, well, don't be self-deprivational on your own show, like Brendan. Don't call your own monologue bullshit. You have a meaningful message, right? And it's like, yeah. No, like I've got like the coach brain, and it's like I'm constantly coaching, right, everyone around me and then myself through it. And so I digress. One of the points I wanted to make in my professional life, and my podcast is connected to my professional life, but it's not my job. It's not my career. It's an extension. It's a show that I put on the side, hoping that I make even more of a positive dent in the world. I guess we'll see, But professionalism is very important to me. But authenticity is actually a little bit more important to me. And certainly, for example, last weekend, I was on a stage rocking a suit in San Diego on Coronado. Get this. So those of you that know anything about like my story and my background, some of you have probably heard that I joined the Navy when I was 18. I signed a 6-year Navy SEAL contract. It's a whole story. The long story short is I was medically discharged from boot camp because I had a pre-existing injury. And at the time, it felt like my life goal, my life dream was being taken from me, But part of what I'm getting at, so to be back on Coronado for work at the age of, 31 at the moment. And as I was in my Uber to the hotel that the event was at, we literally went by the Naval Amphibious Base and went by the Navy SEAL obstacle course that, like, I used to watch documentaries, and I was trying to study the obstacle course and prep for it. So driving by it, and I'm like, I was supposed to be like climbing over that net, like 13 years ago. And yet somehow we're here instead. Here I am on Coronado. That's what I was supposed to be doing. But instead I'm about to go give a lecture at this holistic nutrition event, right? Talk about a cool full circle. I digress again. Professionalism is very important to me. I often am speaking on stage in front of doctors, clinicians, practitioners, coaches. That's a huge part of what I do. But this is my show. This is my show. And God, do I know that I am not everybody's cup of tea. I know that, and I am perfectly okay with it, right? What I don't need is people announcing, you are not my cup of tea. It's like, go drink tea elsewhere. That's great. I want to give myself permission to be authentic on my show. That's the punchline that I'm really, really winding up for here. I want to allow myself to be authentic. I want to have fun with it. And, I want to serve you all in a way that is constructive and respectable and everything. I am my own flavor. I don't want to have to apologize for that. I would rather just surround myself with like-minded people, you know, similar vibes, similar outlooks, perspectives, right? I don't claim to be for everybody. That's okay. But I don't want to be limiting myself. Even on the episodes that I have recorded thus far for this new and improved Holistic Savage podcast, I have caught myself muting myself at times. I've caught myself, sort of suppressing certain authentic things about myself. And I don't really want to do that, right? So ultimately, I believe part of what I'm wanting to accomplish with this relationship is kicking off this new and improved show on the right foot and kicking off this new relationship between me and all of you. And God bless every single one of you, MTHFRs, truly, truly. I really hope we can have fun with it. I hope that we can learn together. We can evolve. We can explore the nuance of sentient reality without getting all hot and bothered and offended and, freaking out. Let's practice some curiosity and compassion and equanimity. Let's have some fun. Can't spell functional without fun, can you, MTHFRs, right? So anyways, with all of that said, two big things that I want to cover in this sort of kick us off episode, if you will. Talk a little bit about the show, the evolution of the show, and what you can expect by tuning into this show, And then two, I want to tell you about my research foundation. For the love of all things holy. Oh my God. I have to tell you all about my research foundation because I have not effectively gotten the word out and I'm getting a little bit pent up about it, right? This episode is brought to you by NeuroCeuticals. NeuroCeuticals is my personal supplement line and truly a dream come true. Supplements have always been a major area of passion for me my entire career, and I've always dreamed of having my own supplement line that provided cost-effective, clinical-grade therapeutics to my clients and functional friends. NeuroCeuticals offers key formulations to promote optimal mental and metabolic health by using well-studied ingredients of the highest quality. I launched NeuroCeuticals in 2023 with 3 flagship products. NeuroBiome, which is a multiple strain psychobiotic formulated to optimize gut-brain axis health by promoting a diverse microbiome, an integral gastrointestinal lining and blood-brain barrier, producing adequate levels of short-chain fatty acids necessary for a healthy metabolism and immune system, to help combat inflammation of the body and brain, while also promoting healthy neuroplasticity and neurogenesis to help the brain repair from the daily insults of modern lifestyles. The second product is NeuroIgG, perhaps my favorite supplement of all time, which is pure serum bovine immunoglobulins that act as a defensive shield in the gut to bind and neutralize many pathogens and toxins such as lipopolysaccharide, gluten proteins, mold toxins, exotoxins, microbial components, and so much more. NeuroIgG supports a healthy immune system in the gut, body, and brain. The third NeuroCeuticals product is NeuroMega, omega-3 fatty acids, EPA, DHA, that are essential for metabolic and mental health, with pro-resolving mediators to help combat inflammation. Omega-3 fatty acids are some of the most important nutrients for our brain cells to keep neuroinflammation regulated and promote optimal neuroplasticity. These 3 products are meant to be taken together and can be purchased as the NeuroCeuticals Gut-Brain Axis Stack. Be sure to visit the links in my show notes to learn more and order your NeuroCeuticals today. So first and foremost, though, Holistic Savage Podcast. What's up with it, right? Ultimately, like I said before, we will likely be sticking most of the episodes around functional fitness, functional medicine, spirituality, philosophy, psychology, nutrition, clinical stuff, lots of cool science. I find myself often getting pretty philosophical on a lot of the conversations. A lot of times, I might be bringing on experts in different fields, all very much like functional medicine, holistic health centric, right? So bringing on a lot of experts But then kind of getting a little more philosophical and esoteric. I really, many of you have probably heard me say it before. Uh, I do feel and consider myself a truth seeker. And to me, science and spirituality are equally important. Speaking for myself, I can't speak for anybody else. I will never intentionally speak for somebody else unless they like ask me to. Like, hey, I had a weird analogy in my head of like if a loved one was on like life force and they want me to speak. That got dark real quick. Um, Life support, life force. What are we talking about? So with the podcast, we're gonna have. I've definitely kind of identified who a lot of my favorite people are. So you're gonna definitely see a lot of the same people more than once. So even some of the past guests, I've already had them back on. Dr. Carrie Jones for round 3, Karan Krishnan for round, I don't know, second or third episode. I think third episode we've done. So there'll be a lot of repeat guests. There will be a lot of new guests. We're going to be dropping episodes every week, which is why I've been stocking up on recordings, because if I'm going to keep up with a once a week cadence, got to stock up those recordings, MTHFRs. So gosh, I would hope that if you're listening to this podcast, I'm getting a little audacious. That's just part of one aspect of my authenticity. And guess what? I'm having fun with it, right? But the MTHFR thing, let's go ahead and like nip that in the butt in case, because I use that as a joke pretty often in case you didn't pick up on that. And I'm getting ready to launch some new t-shirts. I'll tell you about that momentarily. But the MTHFR thing, first off, if those of you are like, what, why does he keep saying MTHFR? Methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase, the MTHFR gene, transcribes for the MTHFR enzyme, a critical rate limiting enzyme in our methylation cycle. It's a whole thing, right? And we're not going to go into that right now, but it's a whole thing. So the MTHFR, that's my sort of holistic savage-like play on words. I'm having fun. It's part of I post about it all the time. But methylation, for the record, is one of my core areas of focus and expertise professionally. With my functional medicine career, methylation is a huge, I wouldn't say it's my biggest area of focus, but it's very high on the list. But anyways, if you want to learn more about methylation, I've got free guides, free webinars. I have a 17-hour course for practitioners that you can take if you want to learn methylation at a clinical practitioner, medical professional level. But as far as just the MTHFR joke, I don't want any of my jokes to like offend somebody accidentally or go over their head. I'm trying to include everybody. If you are listening to this, you are a part of the audience. If you're part of the audience, you are part of the Holistic Savage Tribe. And if you're part of the Holistic Savage Tribe, I want to show you love and respect, and I want to receive that love and respect reciprocated. I think any healthy relationship demands, requires, necessitates a lot of reciprocity. I have learned throughout my life, reciprocity is huge. A healthy relationship requires balanced reciprocity to thrive. And that to me just feels like a fundamental, foundational, biological truth, if you will. And so that's part of it, right? Like any of you that have followed me on Instagram, I don't really play into like the trolls and the critics and the haters too much. And I don't want any of that on the Holistic Savage podcast. I want to provide value. I want to have conversations that are meaningful. I want to engage with the audience. So one thing that we are going to be doing this go around with the new and improved Holistic Savage podcast, one of the things that we're going to do is occasionally I will do more of like a solo Q&A type episode. You guys can submit questions ahead of time, and I will answer and speak to some of those questions in this sort of, format as a podcast episode. Sometimes I'll do some solo episodes on topics that I just have a lot to say about, right? So we're going to have fun with it. You can expect maybe a little bit of everything, but again, all within the parameters: functional medicine, holistic health, spirituality, philosophy. We just like to go there. I like to go there, and it seems like some of you like to go there too. So with that said, I want to tell you a little bit about the Metabolic Solutions Research and Education Foundation. I have not effectively gotten the word out there. Look, man, I'm just doing the best I can to keep up with my life and my path. I feel very fortunate to have the life that I have. I have a fucking amazing life, and I'm deeply, deeply grateful for it, and really damn proud of myself for what I have done to build the world that I have built for myself. And certainly I'm just, it's a weird feeling to be in the position I am today. Right. And gosh, of course I'm tempted. I could go on this long. Some of you know more about me than others. Some of you know me from way back when, or know my story. I don't need to get into my whole story or life journey on right here, right now. But I don't know, to be in the position I am now is a wild thing. And I'm really trying to have the best positive impact that I can. I'm trying to become my best self. I'm trying to do my best work. I think a big part of eudaimonic self-actualization is serving the world. There's a Japanese philosophy, some of you are probably familiar with it, known as ikigai. It's really a lifestyle embodiment philosophy. I love Japanese culture. I've never been to Japan. I can't wait for the day that I have the opportunity to go. I grew up doing martial arts, and karate was actually like the first thing that I was just really in love with and passionate about. Like, yeah, I had my interests as a kid and stuff, but martial arts and karate was like where I found myself. That was my first real passion, starting combat sports as a kid. I did karate for a long time, got my black belt. I wrestled, I did Krav Maga, MMA, just lived and breathed the martial arts lifestyle, the way the warrior, Bushido. That in a lot of ways is why I went, for the Navy and the military and the SEAL program. Was in my high school brain, because I had grown up doing martial arts and combat sports, and it was all, and I loved all these movies. Like, I'm embarrassed to say what movies, but I was just like, that shit stuck. The way the samurai, that, like, I have a, let me look. Let's take a little tour of my office over here. So I got this samurai poster right there. How dope is that, right? Needless to say, that, like, that all really had an impact on me. And that kind of put me on the trajectory that then in my high school brain, Navy SEAL was like the modern day American version of the samurai, right? And to me, it was the epitome of that sort of warrior of truth and honor, right? So that is so woven into the fabric of my soul. And while, okay, like, I'm not a samurai, or am I? I'm not a Navy SEAL. That goal never actualized. Uh, but that's such a major component of my soul. And I bring that same philosophy and outlook and perspective into my functional medicine career, into my personal life, right? And so these days, professionally, I'm kicking ass in the functional medicine space. I'll just say it. Like, and I'm not trying to be arrogant or audacious. I just, honestly, I'm killing it. The functional medicine game, in industry, in space, like, I'm slaying it. I'm having fun. I love seeing the impact of the work that I'm doing. And I've done some really good work. And you know what? The best is yet to come, MTHFars. Like, some of the stuff that I'm having the opportunity to work on now or get involved with now, I feel like my real career is just starting. I feel like my real work is just beginning. Everything I've done up until this point was just like training, and experience and all of that. Having started my career when I was, 17, scrubbing toilets and folding towels. And then 18, I'm selling supplements at GNC and working towards my personal training certification. And to be here now is wild. And I'm just super proud and super excited. So one thing, this is actually a good segue before I tell you about the Research Foundation, but one of the new aspects of this new and improved Holistic Savage podcast. That was the second time I've done that. It'll probably be the last time. You know what I mean? I just had to play it up a little bit. But this time around, we have sponsors. And this just like is so flattering and exciting that we have a number of amazing sponsors of the show. And all of these sponsors are hand selected. I hand selected every single one of them. The brand and work that I've done and created, I feel is pretty well respected. And I feel that has been earned by doing things the right way, the way with integrity and honor. And maintaining that is very important to me. So I don't work with every brand. There are brands that I'm not aligned with. But the brands and businesses and companies that are sponsoring my show are hand selected. And what's really fun for me is these are brands and companies and businesses and organizations that I'm a fanboy of, like genuinely a fanboy. You know, if I could go back in time to like 2016 and be like, hey, younger Brendan, here in like 8 years, these brands are all going to sponsor your podcast. You're going to have great relationships with these brands and businesses, and they're going to believe in your work and support your work. I would have been just absolutely beside myself. And I still am. I genuinely still am. You know, I am such a fan and fanatic about functional medicine and holistic health ideologically. And I'm working so hard to try to make functional medicine and holistic health and fitness more accessible to the world. I have literally been busting my ass for so many years. So many years. I've put so much into my career in businesses, in jobs, in roles. And I don't have time on this episode 0 to go into all the things that I do. But I want to emphasize why I started a 501c3 not-for-profit. So I formed my LLC, Metabolic Solutions, just in case you guys don't know. I formed Metabolic Solutions LLC in like 2016, 2017, something like that. And back then, you know, it was like a website, a Facebook page. It was a one-man show. You know, it was just me. And it was my brand name while I worked with private clients as a functional medicine practitioner, consultant, health coach, dude, right? And it was really in more so 2020 that we launched a Metabolic Solutions Institute for functional health and fitness practitioners. That's home of the Functional Mental Health Practitioner Certificate Program, my FMHP program, Advanced Functional Medicine for Mental Health specifically. But in 2000, I think it was 22 was the year that I filed for my 501c3 not-for-profit foundation, which is the Metabolic Solutions Research and Education Foundation. And while it is a legally formed entity and legally registered with the IRS, it's a dream that hasn't really come to life yet. And it really is my long-term dream. And this is actually really the first time I have like formally announced it to the world. And this is so incredibly important to me. This is really what I want my life's work to be, but it's a dream. And it's a dream that I could really use your help in actualizing and manifesting. So let me tell you a little bit about it. So just to delineate, because I don't want any confusion and crossing wires, and I know, but it's like, we've got Metabolic Solutions Institute, if you're a practitioner looking to advance your functional medicine education. We have Metabolic Solutions, the practice, my private practice, where we serve private clients. So if you're a self-healer trying to reach your self-healing goals, you can work with us at Metabolic Solutions by emailing coaching@metabolicsolutionsllc.com. We've got NeuroCeuticals, which is my personal supplement line, which are NeuroCeutical formulations for optimal mental and metabolic health. Got some bottles on the shelf over here. So the Research Foundation is its own business, its own entity. And look, I'm a self-made, self-funded, bootstrapping entrepreneur that's just kind of trying to keep up with my own life. So even the fact that I have, started a 501c3 not-for-profit foundation by this age and everything, like, it's great. I'm proud, but I want to get it up and running. And guess what? I don't have investors. I don't have, the deep pockets of capital to fund it. So let me tell you about what the foundation is intended to be. And maybe, just maybe, if you think it's a worthy cause, you'll support the cause with the purchase of one of these dope ass tank tops or t-shirts, right? So you can go to the link in my bio on Instagram, my link tree, my website, the link in my show notes, t-shirt fundraiser. Every t-shirt or tank top that's sold raises $10, right? Cost of good takes up the rest, cost of goods sold, right? But the profit margin, 100% of that profit margin, which is $10, goes to my 501c3 research foundation. So my goal is to sell 10,000 tank tops and t-shirts, and we're working on some new designs. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this design, for the record. It says mental illness, cross that out, health dysfunction on the back. It's got the brain yin yang logo on the front. They're super soft, super cozy, but every t-shirt sale is $10 directly to the Metabolic Solutions Research and Education Foundation. Now, what the business model, because hey, let's be real, even a not-for-profit, it's still a business. Just because it's not for profit, as in I, the owner, can't dip my fingers into the bank accounts and put any money in my pocket, but it's still a business. And like any other business, it has to be profitable to work and to stay in business, right? So we haven't begun operations because I don't have the funding, right? So I'm really, really hoping that we can sell some t-shirts. I look at the math a little bit of, at this point in time, I have 174,000 followers on Instagram. And if 1% bought a t-shirt, we would hit our goal. No problem. 1%. And I guess my hope in humanity, I just hope that, like, with how much I've poured into, Instagram and podcasting, how much free content I've put out there to help people, I just really hope that some of my more loyal functional friends, followers, listeners will really consider supporting the cause, supporting helping people in need that are struggling with their mental health, supporting mental health for research. More importantly, supporting research for functional mental health, right? So with the foundation, the business model, the business concept is we're going to be putting on public-facing educational events, workshops, seminars, so on and so forth, putting on public-facing educational events where I can teach the public, teach the world how to improve their mental and metabolic health through holistic functional strategies, lifestyle intervention, psychological intervention, environmental modification, supplementation, so on and so forth, right? Good holistic functional health concepts, information. And instead of selling tickets to these educational events, we'll be selling tickets in exchange for a donation, right? So if I put on, like, let's say a 5-hour workshop for self-healers on how to improve your mental metabolic health, or how to combat neuroinflammation or mold illness, or whatever the subject is, instead of selling those tickets at 2, 3, 400 a pop for profit, no, instead we ask for a donation. You can buy that ticket for $10. You can buy that ticket for $100. You can buy that ticket for $1,000. It's a donation, right? We put on the educational event, we get donations. We use that money that we raise through educating the public to then fund servicing and helping people in need, people that are chronically struggling with their mental and metabolic health, are, let's say it how it is, being failed by the conventional healthcare system and don't have the budget, don't have access to functional medicine and holistic health resources, right? Certainly, podcasting is a great educational resource. All the free education I put out on Instagram, free content is great, but it's not a replacement for legitimate functional medicine services, consulting, health coaching, lab testing, supplementation. Having somebody in your corner that's getting into the trenches, getting their hands dirty, investing into you energetically, heavily, to see you succeed, to see you thrive, to see you become your most actualized self. There are so many people struggling with their mental and metabolic health. I can rattle off statistics all day. And yet just so many people, those of you that really know me or have heard my long, sad story, you know why this is also important to me. It amazes me how my whole life is like wrapped up in mental health, functional medicine for mental, but just mental health dysfunction is affecting every single one of us to varying degrees, right? Some people are severely struggling. Some people are moderately struggling. Some people are mildly struggling. A rare few might be thriving. And then there's a lot of flux in there. But there's just so many people struggling. And even through, all the things that I do professionally, as a researcher and educator and practitioner and all these scientific advisor, all these things that I do professionally. And honestly, it doesn't feel like it's making a dent. I see the positive impact that my work and platform has, and that's touching, but there's so many more people struggling, and I want to do what I can. I want to do what I can to help. I want to do what I can to help these people. And I want to advance research and science while doing it. So essentially, with the money that we raise, we're going to be working with essentially private research clients. These are highly qualified applicants that we select to come into our research program, where essentially these people, they're struggling and they're in need. These are not people that would be able to access or afford typical functional medicine services, but they still need it. Everybody needs it. And you know what functional medicine needs as an industry, as a philosophy, as a methodology? Functional medicine needs more research to be respected and to be accepted by the rest of the world. The functional medicine industry needs more infrastructure. It needs more research to prove that our methodology works. Now, most of us functional practitioners, we know it works because we see the transformation in the results in our clients and patients, energetically, physically, symptomatically, physiologically with clinical biomarkers and lab testing and different objective measurements, right? But an N of one in case studies isn't enough. We need legitimate clinical trials, randomized controlled trials. We just need a lot more research. And so the long-term goal with the foundation is conducting clinical trials. And I have everything I need to do that except for funding. Although uh, I have partnerships that give me a lot. So as soon as I sell 10,000 t-shirts and tank tops, we're doing a clinical trial. And I only have about 100, study designs in my head at any given point in time. But I'm very, very passionate about this vision that I have with the Metabolic Solutions Research and Education Foundation. Educate the public, serve those in need while collecting their data for research purposes. As we collect that data, publish the findings of our data to advance the research, and then use that research to further educate the public, right? That's the business model. That's the dream. You heard it here first. And I invite you, if you're a functional friend, if you're a member of the Holistic Savage Tribe, here's my ask, and I'm not too proud to ask, with all humility and genuine hope. My ask is this: if you feel that I have positively impacted your life in some way, whether we were really good friends once upon a time, we used to work together, you've been following my content and work for years online, you've been listening to the Holistic Savage podcast, you met me at a conference and I was able to have a positive impact, whatever it is, my ask is, if there is something that I've done to positively touch your life and make a positive impact on your life, I genuinely ask you to support my dream, to support my mission in changing the way that the world views mental health by advancing the clinical research of mental health dysfunction while serving those in need. And if you think that's a worthy cause, you can support that by buying a t-shirt or tank top. You could buy some for your family and friends. The best thing would be to spread the word. I just need 1% of my audience and we'll hit our goal. And to give you guys an idea, why 10,000 t-shirts and tank tops? Because then 10,000 t-shirt sales, $10 profit, that's 100K. Realistically, a well-designed human clinical trial is more like 200 to 300. Candidly, I'll just put this out there, and I think the right people will be listening and paying attention. My goal is if I can at least raise $100,000, that's significant enough that then I can go to some of my strategic partners and friends and say, hey, I've got 100K, will you match me? And let's do this clinical trial that I designed. And if you all can help me sell some t-shirts and raise some money, that will happen. So there you go. That's a little bit about the Metabolic Solutions Research and Education Foundation. We don't really have a website yet. It's coming. Honestly, it's not really needed right now. But it's all coming. And the research client program is going to be super, super badass. So anyways, so that's a little bit about the Holistic Savage podcast. I just wanted to hop on here and riff a little bit, talk a little bit. I'm really excited though about this podcast. It's been a long time coming. I want to give a shout out to my amazing podcast crew, Drake Peterson, Wellness Out Loud. They produce a lot of great shows, including my friend, Dr. Tina Moore, which is how I connected with Drake. And they've just been so great to work with. And they've been very patient with me because it's taken a long time to bring this show back. The previous Holistic Savage podcast, don't get me wrong, we're leaving those old episodes out there online. So if you don't know what I'm talking about and you're like, I didn't know you had a podcast, dude, do yourself a solid and go listen to some old episodes. I mean, that old show was more of an amateur production, but really high quality content and guests. I mean, it was years ago. I've grown a lot as a person, and you'll probably observe some of that growth if you're paying attention. But lots of good content. I mean, we had the holistic psychologist on twice. We had Carrie Jones on, Karan Krishna on, Lauren Tessier, Jess Petros, Jade Tita. Like, the list goes on and on. So many legends in those old episodes. And you're probably going to see most of those legends on this new and improved show. So either way, let's have some fun with it. I would really appreciate it if you guys support the show. You know what I mean? If you dig the show and you're tuning in, support it. Take that extra minute to write us a great review. Share it with some friends and family that you think would be interesting. I always, for the record, I am always open to feedback, right? I just ask that the feedback is kind and respectful, right? You can give me feedback, but have it be kind, constructive, and respectful. I know I can have a potty mouth sometimes, and maybe I look like a prototypical bro douchebag. It's subjective. I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting that onto you by saying that, assuming that you're going to project that archetype onto me, whatever. But let's have some fun with this show. Let's have fun. Let's build a culture and a movement. Holistic Savage Tribe. Go get your t-shirt. Support the cause, because God, we need some more mental health research. And unless we just want to just keep doing pharma for everything, but nobody wants that. All right. Much love to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in from the bottom of my heart. Truly, I really hope that we can connect with each other through this medium, have conversations that matter, have some fun, and, try not to take too seriously. Thanks for listening to the Holistic Savage Podcast. This is a Wellness Out Loud production produced by Drake Peterson and edited and mixed by Mike Fry. As always, if you liked this episode, please rate it and review it on your podcast app. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends. See you next time. This podcast is for general informational purposes only. It does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content on this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.